First of all, I would like to thank Capcom and the Gods of Fighting game community for the opportunity to participate in the second Street Fighter 6 closed beta. Since its launch, I've been playing it nearly non-stop, trying all 8 characters as much as I can, trying to grasp its new mechanics, the fundamental fighting system that is a bit similar to the Street Fighter 3, the changes to characters like Ryu, Juri and Ken, and also trying to survive against vicious Japanese players while doing all of these. If you are hyped for Street Fighter 6 or even feel a bit curious towards the new system or characters, then you should feel relieved. It is solid as hell, and I don't think anyone would feel unsatisfactory with Street Fighter 6, even if they're a fan of the series or not. Surprisingly, Street Fighter 6 feels insanely hard to master kind of a fighting game, but on the other hand, it definitely motivates players with its new visuals, the feeling of the impact when dealing damage or doing counter hits, even during closed beta. Oddly enough, even by the latest closed beta version, it feels like a more solid fighting game when compared to the launch version of Street Fighter 5. I'm Arcane out here, and today we dig deeper into the second closed beta of Street Fighter 6 and what it offers in general. For those who don't know, the second closed beta took place between 16th and 19th of December, and only the multiplayer fighting lobbies were available for players. So I won't be talking about the arcade mode or any single player mode whatsoever, and participants can only even access to the training mode by taking place in a lobby, which again is totally open for anyone to challenge you while you're trying to figure out special moves or new combos. Starting with the new design of Luke, players can play as Jamie, who kind of feels like Lei Wulong of Tekken mixed with Yun and Yang of Street Fighter, Ryu, Juri, and a new character called Kimberly that kinda again feels like a mix of Ibuki and Zeku turning into a graffiti artist like Ninja, and again Guile, Ken, and Chun. So the latest announced characters like Marisa, Manon, JP, and the new versions of DJ, E Honda, Dalsim, and Blanca were totally unavailable. They might probably come up by the next beta test in my opinion. From Luke to Chun-Li, I played all of these characters and did at least 10 different matches even with the characters like Guile, Luke, and Juri, which I'm not that interested in. But I wanted to have some insight and knowledge to at least compare them with their previous versions. During my both casual and ranked matches, I mostly focused on Ken, Ryu, and Kimberly, and besides these, I kinda also experimented with Jamie since he's also a newcomer to the franchise. Need to say that each character, each one of them, feels at least fun to play without a doubt. The controls of Street Fighter 6 feels insanely responsive, and the netcode was way smoother than compared with other fighting games of recent years, and besides Street Fighter 6, maybe only Guilty Gear Strive can present a decent connection and experience when I play with my friends from Europe, and for the record, I live in Japan. Even the closed beta had the crossplay implemented without any problems, so Street Fighter 6 has without a doubt a better netcode, better servers than Street Fighter 5 has. I never had any problem with the connection nor any disconnections whatsoever. Maybe for Asia servers, I never saw anyone with Xbox logo, so as for the time being, PlayStation and also PC might be a better platform for Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 brings back the parry mechanic that feels somewhat a bit evolved, or deeper version of Street Fighter 3's parry, and now is a member of drive moves. Besides your health bar and a special meter gauge, there is also a 6-piece of green drive gauge that has multiple purposes, like you can use drive parry to nullify your rival's attacks, drive impact to break their guard or play more aggressively, or drive rush to quickly close the gap to your rival while keeping your momentum for a continuous combo. And last but not least, your X moves, meaning the stronger versions of special moves like Hadouken, Shoryuken, are also bound to the very same drive gauge but not the below special meter gauge. The below gauge is only important for unique attacks that you can do with your characters, so besides your health bar, the second most important gauge is the drive gauge that you need to be cautious of. This whole resource management has turned into a vital point of Street Fighter 6, like you can push your rivals to make them use unnecessary parries to deplete their drive gauge quickly, or use a drive impact by consuming 2 units of the drive gauge, breaking their guard or counter any drive impact that is coming to your way. To be completely honest, I'm still not yet comfortable with using drive rush mechanic since it requires you to know the detailed combos of your character that you are playing. Otherwise, you would just leave yourself open for any incoming punishes. If you're a long fan of Street Fighter series, this new drive gauge mechanic might seem a bit off from afar. However, it only takes a couple of matches to understand the basics, when to use drive impact or not, or how would you exhaust yourself by spamming EX attacks and drive moves, leaving you defenseless and open for any aggressive playstyles. Street Fighter 6 actually teaches you the ground basics with experimenting, playing and fighting, and I think that's another factor that makes Street Fighter 6 solid in my opinion. And again, to be completely honest, I think I need to play the full version before trying to figure out the flaws and problems of Street Fighter 6. As you can guess, only 3 days of closed beta is not sufficient enough to analyze the problems of Street Fighter 6 or figuring out what's not correctly functioning within the game. As far as I played during this time, it's kinda like a blend of Street Fighter 3 and 5, and I wouldn't call it as better than Third Strike, but it sure is way better than Street Fighter 5 itself. So that's a big plus for me. If I were to talk about the potentials of the characters, I would easily say Ken is an absolute beast and he's definitely the top tier of the closed beta version. He hits hard, has multiple mix-up combos that requires high reflex and muscle memory to guard against, has multiple special moves that would either deal high damage or would help you to finish the match quite quickly. He might seem like a mix of Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and Street Fighter 5 in terms of his command list, and he definitely feels like the Third Strike version of himself in terms of how strong he is. Right after Ken, I would say Ryu and Guile were once again quite strong. Ryu has the donkey kick move from Street Fighter 3 and now can make his one Hadouken attack stronger with his buff move. He hits hard, can be also played similar to the Street Fighter 5 Ryu, but somewhat feels stronger in general. However, if I were to compare Ken and Ryu, I would say Ken feels more threatening, like Ken can deal insane amount of damage in a blink of an eye with consuming maybe 2 or 4 drive gauge overall, while it takes more effort for Ryu to do the same. Guile on the other hand is quite similar to his Street Fighter 5 version. He can either be played as a turtle charge character to be played defensive and also be offensive with drive impact gauge, which makes him a decent threat. I'm not a Guile player overall and do not want to misguide you folks about him, though he really felt effective and strong, especially when compared to the other charge character of Street Fighter 6, Chun-Li. And unfortunately, the only character who didn't satisfy me was Chun-Li, as she turned into more of a charge character like Street Fighter 4 again and felt a bit weaker when she's matched up against Ken, Ryu and even Guile and Juri, but then again, I'm not shit talking any character. I'm basically trying to share my thoughts and feelings with you guys here. It just feels like as if she can't keep up with aggressive characters like Ken, Ryu or Guile in general. Her attacks didn't feel strong like in Third Strike, and she requires far more effort than Ken, Ryu or even Luke and Juri. She might even be the lowest tier of Street Fighter 6 during the closed beta. Right after Ken, Ryu and Guile comes Juri and Luke. They are both quite powerful, their footsies and zoner moves are stronger than before, and they can be insanely aggressive with right amount of drive impact use and combos. Especially Juri, she feels the best version of herself compared to the Street Fighter 4 and 5. Her current state made me want to learn more about Juri, at least her unique moves and basic combos during the closed beta. But again, she requires more time than Ken and Ryu does to at least be efficient with her, but she's definitely worth the time and effort that you would put into. Luke feels a bit similar to Ken and Ryu, but also with a bell of Street Fighter 4's moveset, he can be quite unpredictable and can hit like a truck, especially when played aggressively with drive impact and drive rush. Last but not least, I think Kimberly and Jamie are like middle tier, just a bit below Juri and Luke. They require fast move inputs, they require you to know everything about them. They are really fun to play, but they can also feel a bit weaker when they are matched with higher tier characters, and especially against Luke and Ken, since Shoto characters can lean on more aggressive playstyle. With higher tier characters and especially against Luke and Ken, since Shoto characters can lean on more aggressive playstyle. I'm mostly focused on Kimberly, and as I said before, she is like a graffiti artist turned into a ninja, Ibuki and Zeku of Street Fighter 5. Really fun to play, allowing you to confuse your rival with different moves, well, can also be associated with Chip Zenith of Guilty Gear Strive. Probably her worst matchup would be against Juri, but overall she was a really decent character and fun to play with. Jamie on the other hand can be like Anji Mito of Guilty Gear Strive. He's literally doing a drunken kung fu, mostly effective within close range and with aggressive playstyle. He can drink by the end of his combos, unlocking new abilities with each alcohol threshold that will make him stronger and deadlier. So that means if you can prevent Jamie from drinking, then he is way weaker. Though if he ever reaches the 4 drink level, then you have low chance of survival against him. As being newcomers, both Kimberly and Jamie are quite charming in terms of design, movesets and playstyles, and I hope to see more during Street Fighter 6's launch.
Kimberly wins!
Although I wanted to dig deeper into Street Fighter 6, I mostly tried to learn the basics of the game, trying to reawaken my Street Fighter muscle memory, trying to improve my drive impact and parry reflex, and fought with my friend for like maybe over 50 matches. We both were really satisfied with the outcome. Like, we were able to read each other's movements, reflexes, and praising each other by how we try to overcome each other both with defensive and aggressive moves. And without a doubt, Street Fighter 6 is fun, quite solid, and definitely way better than Street Fighter 5 even during the closed beta version. I hope I was able to give you a quick insight and ideas about how the game is, and as a final recommendation, you should be hyped for Street Fighter 6. It feels even more like a easy to play, hard to master than before. However, you would also have a visually beautiful fighting game and a satisfying gameplay than Street Fighter 5 guaranteed. Well then, that's it for today, and I hope you liked today's video. If you have any questions about the closed beta or Street Fighter 6 in general, be sure to share them by the comments below. I will try my best to answer those.
Such a lovely place.